Hello, good people, and welcome to Let's Live, Love, and Learn with Khalil Hill. I go by the name of Khalil Judah Hill, and I am excited once again to share a part of me with you for about 15 to 20 minutes today. Um, but first, I am going to give you my disclaimer, as I will do with every video. What follows are my thoughts and my beliefs that I've accumulated over the last 20 to 25 years on my spiritual journey. There's going to be things that you agree with, and there are going to be things that you absolutely reject and don't agree with. I encourage everybody to use their own sense of discernment to kind of decide, what they believe or what they want to accept as truth and what they want to discard. I only ask that you truly just contemplate those concepts that really do resonate with you. And like I said, just leave the rest behind. One of the things that I will say is that as I share a lot of these life lessons or my beliefs, that at no time do I ever wish to offend anyone. But I know that it will inevitably happen because there are going to be some very sensitive topics that we discuss. But know that if you ever take offense to anything that I said, please know that it was not meant. There was never any ill intent. Sometimes I may, use a term or use a phrase that may be taken, out of context, or I just may just be what's the word I'm looking for? Um, uh, I guess a little bit careless with some of the terms that I may use. I'll try my best not to do that, but I just want to put that out there. So, with that being said, I do share these life lessons not to get you to adopt them, but hopefully to inspire you to seek and find your own to help enrich your life. And, hopefully this creative expression of mine will help others feel a little less alone and a little bit more loved as they seek the heart of the creator and continue their journey in this life. So, what's in a name? If you paid attention to the last video and how I started this video, I specifically and intentionally say that I go by the name of Khalil Judah Hill. And so the reason I say that is because Khalil Judah Hill uh, was not the name that mommy and daddy gave me. It's a name that actually it represents something. And so uh, Khalil Jiddu Hill is actually kind of a mixture of three different names from three people who were very influential in my life. And so the first being Khalil Gibran, who was an author, poet, and artist. He lived between 1883 and 1931. Khalil represents really my heart. His works are responsible for helping me really kind of expand my capacity for love because it helped me get a better understanding of love through its many complexities and its simplicities as well, as oxymoronic as that might sound. And then you have Jiddu Krishnamurti, who in many regards, he represented my mind and helped me to critically think and what my pursuit of truth looks like today was heavily influenced by him. Krishnamurti was a teacher. He was a public speaker and a writer. He lived between 1895 and 1986. And then Ms. Lauryn Hill, Lauryn Hill, famous singer, songwriter, actor. She is currently still alive. In many ways, I like to think that Lauryn Hill represents my creative expression and my hope to share what's in my heart, what's in my mind, in a creative way that inspires others. And so Khalil Judah Hill is really a mixture of those three names. And so I'd like to kind of start off this series of videos by kind of, talking about each one of those individuals and their seminal work or their masterpieces that truly made an impact on my life and where I kind of got some of the foundational, life lessons that I've built everything on top of since, first been exposed to their works. And so we're going to start off with Khalil Gibran and his masterpiece, The Prophet. I have to say that The Prophet, Khalil Gibran is probably, gosh, probably the most in he's had the most impact in my life. I would say there's my mom right up here, and Khalil Gibran is right there. And I even meet the guy. He was never alive during my lifetime, but he's someone that has made such an impact in my life. And, you know, the there's two foundational life lessons that I learned from the prophet and Khalil Gibran, which essentially they're the cornerstones of my belief system. And the first I'm going to share with you in this video, and it's there's beauty and purpose in all things. And so I'm going to read a quote to you, and I hope you enjoy it. But you do not see, nor do you hear, and it is well. The veil that clouds your eyes shall be lifted by the hands that wove it, and the clay that fills your ears shall be pierced by those fingers that kneaded it. And you shall see, and you shall hear, yet you shall not deplore having known blindness, nor regret having been deaf. For in that day you shall know the hidden purposes in all things, and you shall bless darkness as you would bless light. Now, there's a lot in that quote, and I hope to kind of make a little bit of sense of it as we go through this video, at least kind of my interpretation of that quote and what I extracted from it. And so, before I jump into the heart of this lesson, I do want to say, put this preface out there, is that I have a profound respect and a love for uh, Christianity and the church. You know, my background, my origin, of the start of my spiritual journey started in the church with the Judeo-Christian faith, and so there's going to be a lot of things that I share about that past and how I've, I guess, kind of changed, transformed within the church, and then when I stepped outside of the church, um, that many may take offense to, but once again, know that it's there's no ill intent there, and that ultimately I have a ton of appreciation, and it was an invaluable part of my life, and it's something that I don't look back on with any kind of resentment or negative perception whatsoever. So keep that in mind as I continue speaking here. So during the early 2000s, I would say probably around 2002, 2003, you know, I was really at odds, you know, with the church. It was something that, you know, I was young. I had, you know, these dreams or these ambitions of being an NBA basketball player. And let's just say I never had the talent to actually make that happen, but I had these ambitions of being a great NBA basketball player, making it to the league. And then I hurt my knee. You know, I was playing outside with some friends and family and hurt my knee while I was playing. And so that really put a lot of things in flux in my head as far as the purpose for my life, what I thought it was, the dreams that I had, and it made me question my faith, you know? And, you know, once again, this is young. This is uh, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. And so it's one of those things that, you know, I had to kind of work through a lot of things. But with that being said, you know, there was a lot that I felt, um, a lot that I went through, especially my first few years of college. And after I hurt my knee, I was seeking to find some purpose. Why did this happen to me? Why did the trajectory of my life all of a sudden change? And so I really delved into kind of reacclimating myself to the Bible and to my faith, and very differently. You know, it was something that I wasn't going to church every Sunday and just listening to what was being said to me. I was truly going through the scriptures, reading line by line, verse by verse, chapter by chapter, book by book, in order to find purpose and find reason for what was happening to me. And so at that time, I was wanting to know more about God and more about spirituality because I felt that there was more to it than what I had grown up knowing, you know? To I grew up with a lot of this information about God and grew up through the traditions of church, but I didn't feel like I really had a relationship with God. To me, that there was a disconnect, and it was something that I was trying to make sense of. And so, kind of, that's kind of the backdrop and the context of when I was introduced to Khalil Gibran and the Prophet. And so, I will remember going into this bookstore. I don't think I'll ever forget it. I was going through this bookstore and I caught this book and, it had The Prophet on it by Khalil Gibran. And it's one of those things that at the time, once again, I was doing all this research in the Bible. So anything that was called the prophet, it kind of piqued my interest. And so I checked it out. And gosh, there are moments in life that when you hear a truth, my gosh, it like surges past every preconceived notion that you've had, any conditioned responses, any type of mental programming, and it really goes straight to your bare immortal soul. And so reading the prophet and Khalil Gibran's words hit me in a way that, gosh, I can't think of anything that ever hit me up until that point in my life. Like I knew that what I was reading, that there was some truth to it. I didn't quite understand it, but there was, gosh, how can I put it? In many ways, when I finished reading, there was an awe of the ways that Gibran made everything so beautiful and everything was filled with purpose. Everything kind of made sense. And there were elements of what was written that, you know, it unbounded aspects of love that it seemed like in my current state of which I believe certain aspects of the Christian faith that love was not, fully unbound, that there were restrictions on love, that, certain people did certain things that were an abomination to God, that were worthy of being, sentenced to the fires of hell forever for eternity. And that's not what I got when I read Gibran's words. Gibran's words made life make sense, the good and the bad, the righteous and the evil. And so, he had a way of weaving life's dichotomies into this holistically gorgeous tapestry in which every strand was important and every strand, made sense. And so, whether that's joy, that's pain, whether that's, gosh, the light, darkness, righteousness, wickedness, life and death, he kind of created this narrative where they needed each other. They weren't like these separate entities where one was good, the other was bad. Like they were one. They were kind of like on opposite ends of a spectrum that were connected. In fact, it's so easy for us to curse the bad or the horrible things that happen in our lives. And what Gibran kind of taught me was that, you know what? Pause, pause and actually take a look at what happened or what happens in your life and try to extract some possible purpose for it. And that there's a hidden beauty within those moments. For example, Gibran kind of talked about how the things that are most painful, in our lives, the things that, can make us cry or bring about our tears, that if we really look at those moments and really dissect the emotions that we're going through, like those things that are making us cry or that are painful, they were the source of our joy. They were the source of our laughter, the source of our smiles. And that there's a relation like as deep as that pain may carve into our being that allows for us to experience that much more joy and laughter and fulfillment as well. And so it's almost like you can't have one without the other. And that was something that, it really it changed. It was a paradigm shift for me, you know, to realize that joy needs pain. You know, light needs darkness. It needs it in order to provide definition for it and for us to have an appreciation for it. Like if you never felt pain, then you wouldn't really know how to appreciate pleasure. If you never felt, you know, suffering, you wouldn't really know how to strive for or seek or appreciate, you know, happiness or joy. Like that, while we can easily condemn one and praise the other, the simple fact is that we need both, or we can't have appreciation for the other. And so that was a definite light bulb moment. And like I said, a true paradigm shift is how I looked at life. And so, you know, I no longer really assign negative or injurious meanings to things anymore. I think that that is a surefire way to go down a very cold, dark path. You know, if whenever you start things happen to you and you say, "Oh, this shouldn't have happened and it is horrible," then you're kind of shutting yourself off from ever really extracting anything positive from it or learning anything from it. When you condemn parts of your life that happen to you, these experiences, which all of them are filled with opportunities to learn, to grow, and to expand ourselves, when we condemn those things, then we shut ourselves off from the capability of being able to extract something positive from it. And so, you know, I realize that it's not the event that elevates us or devastates us. It's how we perceive it. It's how we engage with that event. It's how we engage with those emotions um, that really determines, you know, how it impacts us. And so, I realize that nothing is without definition or meaning, or nothing has definition or meaning. We assign it. You know, we choose which side we want to accent. You know, do we want to accent it in a positive way, or do we want to accent it in a negative way? You know, we can choose to embrace our experiences and preserve our wholeness, or we can reject them, which we don't even realize how it fractures us and it limits us when we do that, you know, because this is a part of our lives. And whenever we don't embrace those experiences, which become a part of us, then we do fracture ourselves. We do limit ourselves because um, we're not accepting and we're not assimilating that experience, which was meant um, to strengthen us, to grow us, to expand us. And so, understanding this really help re gosh, help me really emancipate my mind, you know, and now I'm able to view the world and all of these different experiences, you know, truly teeming with beauty. And so the next time you look into the night sky and realize that, you know, it's easy to look into a night sky, especially if you don't have all that, you know, light pollution, and you see this beautiful dark sky and you see all of these brilliant stars that are shining in the sky. It's very easy to like look at those stars and say, "Oh, how beautiful that those stars are twinkling and sparkling, you know, light years away." But I truly believe that the beauty is not solely in the luminance of the stars. It's also in this proximity and its relation to the darkness that surrounds it. And I think that beauty is found in the relationship of contrasting elements. And so when we look at the great things that happen in our lives, when we look at that, you know, our spouse or that significant other that we have in our lives that we have so much love and so much respect for, a lot of times, if we really look at it, a lot of times that love and that respect and that appreciation we have for that significant other was created because of all the terrible relationships that we went through before, or the feeling of rejection, or the feeling of someone who took us for granted. Um, uh, we felt neglected. We didn't feel appreciated. Like all of those moments, all of those experiences kind of created that appreciation for that significant other that you want to spend the rest of your life with. And so those are the things that I really want us to kind of focus on and really step back and realize that it's all for our edification. It is all for the ultimate goal of us having an appreciation and joy of living. Like we face those bad, terrible moments in our lives in order to create appreciation for the things that are truly worthy of an embrace and the things that truly bring that joy into our life. But without that negative, without that other side, that shadow side of things, we wouldn't have that appreciation. We wouldn't have that joy. We wouldn't cling to life, so earnestly. And so, with this concept of beauty, I think that it makes a little bit more sense, when Gibran says that we will bless the darkness, yeah, as we would bless the light. Um, because when we truly look at the big picture, when we truly look at the entirety of the sky, both of them, that interplay between the darkness and the light truly makes it beautiful. And I think that's so many parallels into our world today. There's so much crap that's going on in the world today. There's so much to loathe. But I think that if we step back, what it's creating is new leaders. What it's creating is an unsettled sense within people to where they want to do more to change the world. It's awakening aspects within them in order to create change and to create a better world than the world we had before. And so yeah, today's lesson is there's beauty and purpose in all things. Sometimes it just takes a little faith to believe in that and to look for it because it's not going to make itself evident automatically. It's not going to be out there for it to be easily identified. Sometimes you just have to have faith that it's there. Sometimes you may have to wait a little bit before it makes itself known. You just have to look for it and I think that once you do that it'll reveal itself. uh to me, I'll say just from my experience, it always has. And so in closing, here's the question I have for you. So do you feel like there's too much wrong and unjust in the world today? If so, why do you believe it's happening, and is there anything to be gained or learned from it? So as I requested of you in the last video, please put your answers in the comments below. I would love to read them, and I'm sure the community that we are building together would love to read your answers as well. And then today's quote of the day and my message for my son: every moment of every experience is an opportunity to know yourself intimately. Learn to trust and embrace life's pains as you do its pleasures, and it will reveal its beauty and teach you a love that's unconditional. All right. Thanks once again for spending this 15 to 20-ish minutes with me. I absolutely enjoyed it. And until next time, know that you are never alone and that you are always loved. Peace out.